What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday here. It is April 28th. Some interesting price action in the markets here today. Well, like a lot of other days in crypto. Now, on this video, we're going to be talking about what's going on with Bitcoin because that is the main driver of this crypto markets. Whatever Bitcoin does, it has a huge effect on the rest of the altcoins. We're going to take a look into Bitcoin. We're also going to take into Cardano, take a look into what hidden potential does the charts behind Cardano actually review. We're going to take a look into TradingView charts, of course, and give a brief walkthrough of how I would talk to a beginner about how to actually use charts to review secret patterns behind markets, okay, and actually measure price targets and find hidden charts with a lot of potential. Okay, so if you guys are new to this channel, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment, because what I do here is I find markets or patterns before they actually move. Let's face it, that's going to be a lot riskier than chasing pumping green candles, okay? If you guys actually chased pumping green candles, let me know how that worked out. I can tell you from my personal experience, it's very stressful. It's pretty hard to make a profit, and it's very risky, okay? There is definitely a lower risk approach to trading, and I'm going to be talking about that throughout this video. And if you guys do have any technical analysis requests, make sure to drop a comment, like, and subscribe in the section below. I will pick one technical analysis request for any market, any coin in the upcoming videos for you guys. So make sure to drop what you need. And of course, a like and a subscribe. Now let's go ahead and dive right into the markets here. We do have the hourly time frame here looking pretty interesting, and let me explain why. So I talked about this bear flag we actually broke out of for Bitcoin, right? Very important to be looking at Bitcoin first because this could affect how the altcoins move. Now, since about Saturday, price action did break out of this bear flag with a price target of about 91,000. Okay. Now, price targets are estimates only. Okay. It could be more or less, but it's still very important to get a good idea of where price action could be heading to, right? In order to open close positions or even just observe, right? Even to consider, trading, price targets are still very important. Now, since the price action has actually broken out of this pattern here, we have actually made a higher high and a higher low here, right? Now, this could still be a bearish retest. Basically, if the price action breaks out, but it actually comes back to retest and, come back to this breakout point, which is the bottom trend line here, the bottom trend line of the pattern that it broke out of, that could still, mean that there's more downside. There's quite a bit of bullish signals here as well, such as on the hourly time frame. If you guys do actually see, we have actually made a very strong bounce here, right? Since this low, right? At about 93,000, right? So that means if the price action was to make a equal or lower low here, there's more likely than not, there's going to be another bounce because we're going to get bullish divergence on this hourly time frame based on this huge strong bounce here. Okay, so that's what it means to me, and that's my opinions, right, on how to actually see the RSI pattern, which is a very simple but effective indicator. Now, possible bullish divergence here as well. Comparing this low with this low, and this hourly closes in about 30 minutes. So something to be watching out for. I did not open a leverage position based on this higher low idea, because this could still be I think this is still a kind of a risky play, because even though on the hourly time frame it looks like we're getting a higher high and a higher low, this is, to me, a bearish retest, right? This could still be a bearish retest coming back up to this bottom trend line here of this bear flag. And then what I'm also looking at, how I define this to be a higher risk play, is I actually closed a leverage position very close to here. I mentioned this a couple of days back on an Algorand position just for a small profit. I still gotta make a buck, right? Trading. So that does help me pay my bills, right? So I did exit a leverage position based on around this time here. It was like in the AM times here in Pacific Standard Time. And I think this is still kind of a higher risk play, so I did not re-enter into any leverage positions, right? If you guys I don't recommend trading leverage unless you've actually had some success and quite a bit of experience trading spot positions, because it could get pretty risky, right? Especially if you're trading, high leverage or very small coins, okay? So that's basically what I'm looking at. I think this is still a higher risk play. I'm actually waiting for the next better level of support for a lower risk play here. Now, let me also elaborate why I think this could be a higher risk play, because I do see quite a bit of divergence on some of these higher time frames. Short time frames, but still higher than the hourly time frame. As you guys can see here, 6 hour, quite a bit of divergence here. And that is, that's why I'm saying it's a little bit of a high risk. 12-hour time frame, we still do have divergence here, right? So what I'm looking at as the next level of support would probably be the 12-hour 21 SMA if this price action was to continue downwards. Of course, nothing is 100%, right? I'm just saying things in terms of high risk, high probability and low probability. And right now, I think this is kind of a low probability of a profit here. If I enter a leverage position here, okay. Now, if you guys are thinking spot, that's probably a completely different story, right? Or if you guys are on a holding strategy, that's probably a different story, right? And of course, these are just my opinions, speculations, completely not financial advice, okay? I'm just some dude trading crypto on the internet, okay? And I'm just sharing with you guys my ideas and hoping to provide some value, okay? Let's take a look into Ethereum, okay? Ethereum still lagging behind. Mentioned this, been mentioning this, okay? And the reason why I'm saying that is because it is still at the daily 50 SMA, with the daily 200 SMA very far away, about 2,700, right? Could it get a big pump to catch up? I will not rule that out of the cards, right? I have seen some pretty big pumps, sudden pumps, at Ethereum. I think the most recent one was last year. Okay, so that's still some time ago, but I would not rule it out of the cards. Okay, so that's Ethereum is lagging behind quite a bit, and we just have a price target out of this falling wedge pattern. Okay, about 2,900. Okay, and if Bitcoin can actually hold above the daily 200 SMA and actually get towards its next price target, which is about 104K, based on that 3-day time frame, double bottom pattern I've been talking about, I don't see why Ethereum would not be able to catch up. Okay, but it's all based on Bitcoin price action too. Okay, total 3, it is actually running ahead of Ethereum because it is above the daily 50 SMA, with the daily 200 SMA very close. Okay, 800 and about 850 billion price target, right? Price target is right above, right at about 1.1 trillion market cap. Total 3 is altcoin markets excluding Ethereum, and this could do some pretty amazing pumps for some of these smaller altcoins. I'm sure you guys have already seen, in the past week, right? Some pretty crazy pumps, but I don't think this is anything crazy yet, because altcoin markets, it hasn't really gone too far from its 2021 levels. In fact, I think we're still underneath 2021 all-time highs. Okay, even though we've gotten some wicks above that, we're still underneath that. But on the monthly time frame, it's still looking good. We're still seeing higher highs and higher lows, and this is a much um, higher time frame than we talk about on the hourly, a 6 hour, right? So something to be keeping in mind is that I think altcoins are still there's still some pretty explosive potential for altcoins based on this chart. Of course, it does have to break its all-time highs, which in my opinion is going to be about 1.15 trillion. Okay, because other than that, otherwise, I would just see altcoins as ranging from where price action is at and its previous all-time highs. At least for altcoins that have data, right? There's going to be newly minted altcoins. That's a different story because you don't have that data. And for traders, we don't really, if we don't have that much data, then we don't really have reference to where to take profits, right? Then that's more likely than not. Then it's going to probably do a little bit more price discovery. Now let's take a look into stock market. Very important, right, on a macro level because it did hit some major moving averages, right, and support levels. 4,800. That's what I'm talking about. That's basically you guys see this cup and handle pattern that has been consolidating since January 2022. Broke out of it January 2024, right, and then basically retested it that breakout level, right? And it, that looks like a very bullish pattern to me, right? A bullish candle to me on the monthly time frame. Let's take a look into the daily time frame. Still looking good because I mentioned this falling wedge pattern. Price target is about 5,800, and the S&P 500 right now is holding above its daily 21 SMA. Okay, so this serves as a front-running signal for me for Bitcoin because it does have high correlation with Bitcoin. Let's take a look into some top 100 crypto. Of course, Cardano as well. Okay, and see what Cardano could be doing. Right, I'm gonna be doing this from scratch with you guys. I'm just gonna give you guys a brief walkthrough of how I go about looking at the charts, using technical analysis to actually break down cryptocurrencies and find hidden potential and some pretty big price targets. Okay, let's take a look into Cardano here. I like to take a look into the monthly time frame first, just to make sure that it is not in risky territory. And what I mean by that is I don't see a overbought RSI, right, on a higher time frame, such as the monthly, because if you guys actually take a look into 2021, right, that's a good reference point. Of course, not everything is going to play out the same, right? It's a good reference point to actually just look at some data, even though they might not play out the same way, right? But if you guys do actually see, February in 2021, once it gets into overbought territory, and what I mean by that is when the RSI goes above 70, it doesn't stay there for very long, right? Cardano actually stayed there for quite a bit of time. You know, comparing to other smaller altcoins, okay? If you guys just go ahead and take a look into the RSI charts, into altcoins that have data back in 2021, especially an RSI reading on the monthly time frame, just tell me, how long does it stay there above 70 on the RSI? Usually 1 or 2 months, right? Cardano has been a little longer, but that tells me it's in, once RSI gets into overbought territory for some of these altcoins, that tells me it is in risky territory. So I want to make sure that, whatever that I'm considering getting into is not in risky territory first, at least on the monthly time frame. And as we get more data, even on the 3-month time frame, that's probably what I would start looking into as well. Now, let's zoom in, right? Weekly time frame, okay? It is in between quite a bit of resistance here. And if we actually, just take a look at this pattern here. This is a rounded bottom pattern, which is basically once it found a bottom here, which seems to be about 25 cents, it has been, getting higher highs and higher lows, right? And let's take a look into what potential pattern could be happening here. Now, this is a descending triangle pattern, okay? Descending triangle patterns are actually bearish, meaning it would usually break down, okay, with a higher likelihood, okay? Let's take a look. Can I find 3 weeks? Can I find? I was starting to call this a descending triangle pattern. Okay, it usually breaks down. Okay, I think we have 3 connecting wicks on the daily time frame. So basically, 3 touching wicks on a. You need to have 3 touching wicks on a trend line to call it a valid trend line. Okay, that is a beginner's tip into charting. And I mean, we have a very close wick here on this candle. So I'm going to call this a descending triangle pattern. So right now, at least on the daily time frame, it is, I'm going to call it a bearish pattern that we are seeing on the daily time frame. Okay. Now, let's take a look into a smaller time frame even. Can we get any clues on what price action could be doing in this descending triangle pattern? 12-hour. So 12-hour, we still have a rounded bottom here. If the price action actually breaks about 78 cents, okay, and forms a cup and handle, that's a if scenario, because right now it's not a completely formed cup and handle. Then you could potentially be looking at a price target out of this cup and handle for about just a little over $1 here, almost $1.05. Like I said, this is not a fully developed cup and handle. This is a hypothetical scenario, and this could potentially take Cardano back up to the upper trend line here for another swing, right? So that's basically what I'm looking at for Cardano. Of course, price action could still break out of a descending triangle pattern on the upside. It's just that the probabilities is not in your favor, right? Now let's go ahead and take a look into another chart here. I do have to log off at 20 minutes for TradingView. Okay, so HBAR, okay, Hedera hash graph. What could be happening here? So weekly time frame. Gonna be a very common pattern you guys might see, right? It's gonna be on the weekly time frame, falling wedge pattern, okay? And price target out of this pattern is gonna be about 35 cents, right? And this is basically what I'm looking at for HBAR, very just clean and straightforward. It usually breaks to the upside. Of course, gotta risk manage for if it does go down, right? If it actually does break down, if you guys are trading this coin, right? It is right at the daily 200 SMA, so that is resistance right now. And I am going to be wrapping up for this video right now. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest for Monday, and have a beautiful day.